working,
Right.
you
For
know?
the finance committee?
My dad is like that. You know, he's at 88 and he hasn't retired yet. Still comes in every day. And,
Well, you know, how
but
long
he's
is that?
got more. 88.
Hello?
So you know what's interesting about that? So I had a dad that.
Ready? We're gonna get going.
We're calling
It's
this
better.
to order.
She's gonna yell at you if I don't.
Okay.
Oh, it wouldn't be the first person.
Thank you.
Or she would.
So we are calling the meeting to order, and I'll ask for approval of the minutes from our last finance committee meeting, which was January 16, 2024, moved by Rhett, seconded by Trump. Any additions or corrections to that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Okay. We have some changes to our handbook on fees and such. I think we want to do the handbook first before we
Sure.
approve the fees. Does that sound appropriate?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll turn it over to you.
Of course. So, you may recall that COMIDA, employment and human resources policies typically mirror those of Monroe County. That's been our practice since the organization's inception. And in this past year, in 2023, Monroe County Human Resources introduced a policy allowing new employees upon date of hire 5 days of personal time to use right away. This was to help the county with recruitment and retention of new employees. And so staff is recommending that the board adopt the same policy. So effectively, it adjusts our PTO, available PTO for people in their first and second years of employment from 5 days to 10 days, from 10 days to 15 days, maximum PTO annually. And then we're not recommending changes to the 3 other tranches. And then secondly, we in the past did not have a vacation buyback policy, but Monroe County does have a vacation buyback program. So we're proposing that COMIDA can offer to staff vacation buyback whereby employees can sell back up to 10 of their vacation days or 80 hours at 75% of the present dollar value of the accrued vacation time. And this is identical language to that that's used by the Monroe County Department of Human Resources. Are there any questions?
That's new this year, is that correct?
The vacation buyback?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
The county's had it for,
The county has always had it.
has always had
It's
it.
new for us, but yes, the county's had it. So we're proposing that we introduce it.
A lot of this was like cleanup and really having our policy directly aligned with the M&P policy
Right.
over at the county. It has always been kind of loosely we did it, so this is just making everything that it actually officially aligns.
So if they choose not to actually take physical vacation,
Yeah, because we have a bank,
You
so.
can sell it back and
Yeah.
get a cash.
but,
Yep.
yeah, I think that's great. As
Yeah.
long as people are still taking
Yeah.
vacation
Yeah.
and who need it.
Yeah, we-
I'll need to recharge.
sometimes it's hard to take all of the vacation, so.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Yeah.
How does that work for your benefits?
You mean as far as,
Is 100% benefits, 75% of the base pay?
so yeah, you can only buy back, you buy it back at 75%, it's not 100% buyback.
So if you want a vacation, you get 100% of your
Yeah,
benefits?
so like if you want a day off, you get your full 8 hours. If you wanted to buy that back, you'd only get, what is that, 6 hours
6.
pay, actually. If you want it as the cash equivalent as opposed to the time. You only get 75%.
But yeah, so that would affect your benefit then too, right? Or is that not?
No, it doesn't.
Because your salary?
If you waited until retirement, because you get paid out for your vacation, if you wait till retirement, you can actually get paid out for it 100%.
Oh,
but
so
you'd
it's
have to
not
wait.
annual, this accrues then?
Yeah, our vacation
Oh, okay.
accrues, so you can, if you don't take a whole week, it accrues and it keeps adding up, so,
Gotcha.
yeah.
And this is the employee handbook that all employees have, so with regard to all the personnel policies and procedures. We could each ask for one of these, take it home,
Yeah,
memorize.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
actually,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'll send you an electronic copy if that helps. And I can give you a paper
Oh, I
copy
think
too.
it's a
if you
good
want.
idea.
Sure, yeah.
Troy, you're going home with a paper copy.
You share with me, I'll share with you.
Okay, so, I'll ask for a motion to approve the employee handbook.
So moved.
Moved by Rhett, seconded by Troy. Is there a question?
How are they, is there a bullying harassment policy in there to update with New York?
Yep, we have to do that, like, it's a state requirement every
Yeah.
year, and we have training that everybody
that
has
was
to
an
go through
update?
every year, yep.
Yep.
Yeah, I have through Paychecks, we subscribe to their HR program, and this is what our handbook is actually through, and it's very helpful, because anytime there's any kind of update or a law change or anything, I get a notice from them. So I can
That's
go
great.
in and change it, so it does change, yeah, so every year there's a new version.
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome.
Cause I would never be able to keep track of all the
Right.
changes.
Okay, did we have a second on that?
Second.
Okay. Any additions, corrections? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next item is to review the fee schedule in your packets. And that is on page 3 of your packet. And there's no change here. There are.
Sorry, Jay.
Rachel?
Do you want to talk about? We are proposing a small project fee structure change, which we can talk about, but our fee structure, this schedule, we're not proposing any changes.
The fee 350, all of that.
Right.
That just stays the same.
Correct, but we're proposing the introduction of a new fee schedule specifically for very small projects.
So would that be a separate motion then?
We were going to open it up for discussion, we could take a motion on it today, or we could table it, but Robin, did we have a motion that we were gonna?
So it would be one motion that after we discuss the small project
be a
sales tax,
revised.
it would be a revised. So this is our current fee schedule. We're not recommending any changes to the existing structure, but we are recommending an add-on fee that we can talk about.
So
And I
working
think we're
order.
talking about doing this as a pilot program for a year.
And we each have a copy of that.
Yes.
Which is entitled Small Project Sales Tax Exemption Program.
So small projects, you're gonna pay a little bit.
Yeah, so I'll.
Pay
Pay
okay,
less. So
okay.
what we're seeing is a fair amount of small equipment only projects. And by time you do the fees, it's borderline, is it really worth it for them? And we often turn people away or tell them, like, this is a decision for you if you wanted to, if you think this is really worth it. So with that
So what is at the top here is we went back the
extra
past,
sheet that Robin passed out.
this one, Brett. It's not in the packet.
Yeah.
We went back the last 2 years of projects and like picked smaller project size. When we say smaller, we're talking about the size of the project, the cost. We picked the smaller ones and kind of did a little analysis. So, and what we came up with down below is projects that would have a cost of less than $500,000 would be the benefit of, and it would be a flat fee of $750. And then
To the IDA.
to the IDA, and then
$750 for legal.
And then we talked about if one of the things, and this all also, and Anna chime in whenever, ties back into the whole modernization program that we came up with a couple years ago, how we wanted to come up with something for small businesses and at some sort of NWBE component. And we're also thinking maybe a reduced, even further reduced fee for a certified MWB or service disabled veteran owned business.
And this is directly also tied to Adam Bellows transition report that came out in 2020. When he initially took office, there were some recommendations about COMIDA being more accessible to smaller businesses. And then in the Race Commission report from 2021, there was some similar verbiage there about COMIDA incentives being inaccessible to smaller businesses and minority-owned enterprises. So this responds to some of those recommendations.
These are just examples
Yes, these
Of
are
the
project
small.
examples of
we've
where
had in the past.
this would have been
And-
beneficial.
There are some projects that you'll see are higher, so we wanted to look at this because you can see with those top two projects, it would be a significant reduction.
Yeah.
So we felt that it was more appropriate to have the project size be less than 500,000. When you start getting into those higher amounts, the projects can absorb those costs. And the reality is, the work for staff and legal is the same regardless of the size of the project. So if the larger projects can absorb the cost, then they should. The smaller projects, we are willing to absorb the extra work for the benefit of the project.
So if it increases, I'm glad you brought that up. So if it increases the work for staff, does that mean a possibility that you need more staff at some point?
You mean the
That's
volume,
part
like
of the
we would
reason
see
why
a
we
higher
The
have
volume?
volume, yes.
To not allow retail projects, because really, initially when we were talking about this, we thought, well, a lot of project owners will approach us with retail projects, and they'll be looking for confirming approval from the county executive, and so that's why we determined that we'll not allow retail projects. But other than that, it's a pretty straightforward process, I think, for staff.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Anna's absolutely right in what staff determined, that if you opened it to any project, including retail, the retail projects are a lot of work,
Yeah.
no matter how big they are, because of the additional findings we need to make, and then sometimes we need to loop in the county executive's office. So I think we would see a swell if we allowed retail, which we're not.
So what you're proposing here is, for instance, if I understand it, apologize, I'm not even on the committee. but-
That's okay, all are welcome.
See, I told you.
Could you take his name down?
Have security escort me.
We're gonna see you out.
So the larger, like Sun Density and Black Button, you're not proposing that to be 750, that'll
No.
stay current, it'll only be, things like Excite Rochester and Unearthly Materials,
Yep.
those projects, right?
Yep.
Exactly.
And I'm assuming that the that'll only be for small projects done by an MWBE.
Yeah.
That's a part two. That would be if we wanted to do an even reduced fee, if you were an MWBE.
Okay,
But
So
it's
he's
still, it's
asking, no,
not
not
any
all,
project.
not
it's
all, like if an
only if they qualify
MWBE
for
came
this.
in.
Yeah.
Both under 500,000 and an MWBE.
Yeah.
There is
No.
we're not rolling out a program for just MWBE,
I
right?
thought we were. I thought it would be,
What we're saying.
Well, no, there's an added benefit for registered
You'd have to be
MWBE. So if you're registered
and
with
an MWBE,
Monroe
right.
County,
We're not doing
which
just
is
if you're
an
an
easier
MWBE, you could have-
process.
And you're doing
than-
a small project.
And you're doing a small
Oh.
project.
So
yeah.
both
To
have to
get a
be in.
further- Yes.
Yeah, so it wouldn't be like an MWB came in and did a project the size of Black Button, they wouldn't get.
Mm-mm.
okay.
Right.
Okay.
So this,
So Jay,
I heard you.
on that
The
note,
MWBE
Could
and
we
the
somehow
disabled
use a
veteran is the
structural
Monroe County certificate or the state certificate?
We would
I
accept
can't
the
think like you
county's
do.
certification because it's easier to obtain. I think it's only like a week or two
Wanna
maybe
be
to
on
get
that.
approved.
It's faster.
So, yes.
So what I'm seeing is statewide, MWBE, MBE, and disabled veterans, whole pile got taken back January 1 of 2024. Just learned of one this morning I didn't even know about that affected a local contractor here, so
Their certifications were
withdrawn
taken away.
from
Oh,
the
wow.
state. Yeah,
really,
Why?
yeah, why?
yes, with no explanation.
Oh.
There were,
So I'm very confused at what Albany's trying to get accomplished here.
they're probably more confused
They are
than
looking
you.
at whether they are truly an MWB, what basically they're trying to, who they're trying to decertify. And it's predominantly someone who puts a business generally under their wife's name. And their wife is not actually running the business. It's, you know, they've done everything right in terms of, okay, they own 51% and what, but they just don't have the background to actually run the business. So it's clearly,
Yeah,
so
and
a bunch of those have gotten.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna tell you right now that that isn't fact on this situation.
Yeah,
So
sure.
I'm very concerned of.
I'm not saying that is.
When we poll
but-
these, Jay, they should have a chance to rebuttal and know what needs to be changed with no explanation and just notification that your MWB's been withdrawn.
I don't
Very
disagree with
concerning.
you.
And then when I see it here, that we're gonna look into encouraging it, and on the state level, it's getting taken back, counterintuitive what we're trying to get done here, is it not?
I mean, that's a issue for Empire State Development. I don't disagree with you. I will tell you, just having gone through that process, like when we maintain our certification, the process we had to go through to say, hey, since I'm now, involved, my father started it, they asked for my resume, and for 4 or 5 years, it's just like, okay, what makes you qualified to run a civil engineering business, right? And it was extensive, as it should be, and
Just the process of how you withdraw, number one, the effort it takes locally, which County Executive Bell is awesome for this expedited process, but on a statewide, to have it, you're just hitting it right on the head. It's extenuation of effort. You go through this effort, you're in business operating now in this situation for 12 years, and then with no notification, no explanation, just you are no longer a certified MWBE in the state of New York. Blah, that's it.
I agree. I will just tell you, my experience with Empire State Development is that they wouldn't do that without first giving you the opportunity. They would express their concern, and then you would have to provide information, and there would be that dialogue. At least what I've seen, I'm not saying what happened in that case, but the individuals that I've seen that have been decertified, they were given appropriate opportunity to respond, and what they weren't able to provide was convincing enough information to show that the individual actually at the top of the pyramid was qualified and was actually running the business. I mean, I had interviews where they're like, let's go through your emails and let's see, like, are you really doing the role that you say you're doing? And let's look at your calendar. I mean, it was.
Yeah.
So.
It's concerning as all.
All I'm saying is right now, given Zoom and their ability to go through and do these tools now, which is like, hey, just share your email from this date. I think they're able to go through and
Get a sense.
better vet some of these businesses. Like I said, Troy, I'm not saying what happened there. I'm sharing my experience.
No, I'm just
Yeah.
making a point that if we're going to make change, which I agree that this is awesome to encourage, but at the same time, how many hoops do you have to go through when you, it gets very expensive as 5 years of you having to explain yourself. It's unfortunate, those are hours and time that you're never gonna get back as a business owner trying to run a business. And it's not like you've skipped a beat, right?
You're still doing
You've been steady Eddie, you're showing a positive, you're not a stressor to the economy, if you will, but then to have something major pulled, it's a big deal.
Yeah, no, I don't
It
I don't
reminds,
disagree. I'm just sharing my experience that what they've been doing is just, they're
Well-
digging deeper, peeling a few layers
Well,
back.
when you've been awarded jobs in 2023 and be told in the first quarter of 2024, you're no longer qualified and those projects are no longer
Yeah.
yours, wow.
Yeah.
What, I'm going to talk about economic development, you didn't develop very much. You went backwards here.
Yeah.
So,
Um,
maybe a message for conversation.
Well, that's why
It's lack of
the
trust.
Bellow administration instituted the local MWBE certification program. And then an added service that we uniquely provide here in the Department of Planning and Development is because of the Apex Accelerator. Anna Boulay Fitzsimmons and her staff they have a lot of expertise and a wealth of contacts at the state level and at the federal level around MWBE certification. So we've had a couple of firms reach out to us with similar experiences, and we referred them to Anna, and she worked with them on troubleshooting. But you're right, Jay made a very good point. There was fraud or attempts at fraud, and then ESD is trying to correct for that, or perhaps overcorrect for that. Yeah,
It's the
Correction, that
Yeah,
sounds
yeah.
like.
You know, it reminds me of what goes on with people that are unfortunate enough that they have to apply for Medicaid, elderly, and they don't trust the family members. So it reminds me of that. They're overdoing it because they've been taken advantage of. There's been fraud going on.
And Empire State relies on the industry to self-police itself. So, like, if I'm not doing something right and people in the industry know it, they're the ones who are usually, yeah. The only thing that I would say, if you're gonna do a reduced for MWBs, just make sure they're also small businesses, because you could have a large MWBE that has a small project, and I don't think,
I think both of them are on there, right, or no?
So,
I'll give you an example, and I'm not, Lou is a small business.
yeah,
But if Lou was a large business and they did a small project, is that really what we want here?
It's about the
That's the
project.
question.
yeah, I mean, that is the question
Yes.
to the board. I think that staff's presentation is not looking at business size right now, but
Because we're
open to
always
suggestions.
looking at, it's on a project by project basis.
Okay.
So for simplification,
Understood.
by and large though, I think you're gonna see this program benefit small businesses
I would agree with
and
you on
not
that.
large businesses, but that's a very good point. That's why we're proposing 1 year, try this out as a pilot. We're gonna come back in March of 2025 and have another discussion about how did we do.
Okay, so should we talk about the changes then that we're going to ask for your approval? This is for the pilot program through 3/31/25. Total project cost must be less than 500,000. Sales exemption benefit must be less than 100,000. The legal fee is a flat fee at $750. COMIDA fee is flat at $750 or 0.5%, whichever is less, and the COMIDA fee reduced to $500 for certified MWBE or certified service disabled veteran-owned businesses. No retail projects allowed and must use all local labor if construction renovations are part of the project. So,
Does that mean if they say that they're gonna have all local labor and then they do what some?
Yeah, we're not gonna entertain any waivers on these deals.
So all
Yeah.
local labor, period.
Yeah, and if there's a violation, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Hopefully there are no violations. But yes, the answer to that question when Ann asks it is always going to be, we don't expect any waivers.
So does the sales exemption benefit have to be a threshold of 100,000?
Yes, otherwise we have to have a public hearing.
And then that changes.
And
the
that-
whole-
That changes the
yeah,
game of what we're
Because of
doing.
staff bandwidth
So
and,
these are truly, so
Smaller
anytime we're
projects.
providing benefits in excess of $100,000, we have to have a public hearing in the jurisdiction. So then you get publication costs, time for the public hearing. So this would be truly like small, don't need a public hearing at all.
Well, I'm just looking at the benefit, you only have one project there that we already said wouldn't qualify for this.
So
All the
remember,
rest.
project size is different than benefit size. So this is the all-in project size, about 50%, just for round numbers, is usually items that are subject to sales tax. So you'd be taking 50% of this number, multiplying it by 0.8 to find out what the benefit is, or 8%. And then as long as it's under 100,000.
So 500, 100 is a 20% benefit.
Where are you looking?
He's
If the
looking,
project cost is 500 and the sales exemption's 100,000, that's 20% incentivized.
Right, 20% of the project being incentivized, but part of it's labor, right? The project cost includes labor. So it's 500, anything with a project size of 500,000, unless there's a pilot agreement, which would not be advisable, is going to have benefits less than 100,000.
So in the pilot, what's the average percentage incentivized?
I don't know.
I'm just seeing 20 is pretty high.
So what he's saying is, if you have a $500,000 project receiving $100,000 or less of benefits, that's 20%.
So like,
Project.
part of that could have been manufacturing equipment, and the only parts that they're subject to sales tax are that, so the percentages are gonna be different based on what they're actually
they're-
spending their money.
Yeah, what the, yeah.
And they list all that out in
It
the
could have
applications, that's how we come up
building
with that
costs.
8%, is
Yeah.
we pick what.
Soft
what
costs.
Once it hits $100,000
Yeah.
threshold, it goes to the
I would be
next, it triggers
surprised.
another step.
I would be
I don't see
surprised on
how
a
you get there.
$500,000 project if we're anywhere near
Right.
100,000 in benefits. Typically, what we're seeing is less than 20,000 in benefits,
Right, that's
far
what I was
less,
thinking,
yeah.
that's why
Yeah.
I went to, does it need to be 100,000, can it be 75,000, just looking at your numbers?
Yeah, they won't
But
be,
it's-
they're much lower than that.
If it was-
Sorry,
You have
math is
another
hard, it
mechanism.
took me a minute to
So you have
get
another
where you were.
mechanism.
Thankfully, Allison is
I
our
know.
math person.
If it was 500,000, the max benefit, if it
No.
was all sales tax, would be 40. You'd never hit.
Exactly, you'd never be.
You'd never
at-
hit the 100.
Yeah,
Right.
but yeah, to Troy's point, not all of these projects that are posited here as an example would
right.
be eligible.
Right.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, we put
Right.
these all so you could
This was our
get like an
analysis.
illustrative
Yeah,
thing
this
of
is
what
like
we
a
were looking at.
snapshot of a pic of
Mhm.
COMIDA projects, and you
Yeah.
can see how many of them, of that snapshot might qualify for the program.
You scared the board
Okay.
members away.
Did we?
So we
Oh, Joe,
need
yeah.
to have a motion to recommend that the full board adopt the revised fee schedule, which includes the smaller project sales tax. Is that
Motion.
correct? Moved by Rhett. Sitting there. Seconded by Troy.
Good stuff.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you very much. Okay, next item on the agenda is to review the Finance Committee charter. It's on page 4 in your packet. I don't believe we have any recommended changes for that.
They're up to
Correct?
Correct, no changes.
Any questions on the charter? All right, can I have a motion to approve the charter?
Motion.
Moved by Troy, seconded by Rhett. Any additions, corrections? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Okay, the next item is the review of policies and procedures and our investment and deposit policy, which is page 6. And that's a standard, right? There's no changes there, there's nothing new.
We're not recommending any changes.
Any questions? There's a lot of good language in there about, investment review, deposit policy, and so on. Okay, so this will be consistent, no change year over year. I'd like to have a motion to recommend that the full board re-adopt the investment and deposit policy as presented. Is there a motion? Moved by Red.
Is this including the new?
No,
Okay.
no, not the, we're gonna discuss the RFP separately.
Yeah, that'll be a separate
Executive
discussion.
session.
I need a second, thank you. Any additions, corrections? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Okay, the next item is the Finance Committee self-evaluation. And we have a lot of like-minded people, looks like, in terms of their interpretation of how well we're doing. And you have a copy of that in your packet as well. So the same couple of issues that came up in audit committee, self-evaluation, and that, you know, we should freely be asking for more training in certain areas and expanding that. And I don't think that there's much of an opportunity to recommend qualifications for finance committee members. Anyway, so you have a copy of the self-evaluation. Any comments, questions? All right, and I have a motion to accept the self-evaluation for the finance committee. Whoops, I see that I have a note here from Robin. No action is needed. For review purposes only.
It's all right, I was gonna take the motion.
Yeah, I gotta follow, you know, whatever she said. Okay. So, next item is, we have a or an RFP response for our request for investment services. And the one that we received, and it was the only one we received, and we had it posted for what, 3 weeks, the RFP, is a company called High Probability. And we didn't invite them here today because we wanted the committee to review this and see if we're on the right track.
Yeah, so we can go into executive session.
That's correct.
And we'll kick Greg out.
Yes, let's go into executive session.
Wow,
Uh,
ouch.
Red, is that a motion?
Motion.
Yeah, and seconded by Troy. All those in favor say aye. Opposed?
You can't say aye.
Yeah.
All right.
No.
Your rodeo's about to begin.
Troy, do you have any grandchildren?
No.
Okay.
He has grand puppies.
You're gonna leave it at that, right, Noel?
I do.
Why, do you have a signed basketball you wanna?
Well, that was good, that was good.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
They said,
Is there anything else?
Nope, just other business, and there's no other business unless anybody has.
There's a lot of other motions here.
Oh, that would be motion to enter into executive session, which we already
Did
did.
that already.
And
We came out of
the board determined that we don't wanna move forward at this time, so we're good.
We're
So
good.
we can check.
All right. Okay. All right, so we just need a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Been moved by Brett, seconded by Troy. All those in favor say aye.
aye.
Opposed, no